Donald Trump's pens have been getting quite a workout since he took office. He signed a series of executive actions to set policy change in motion. They look like laws, but they don't exactly carry the same weight. My next guest says they can be misleading. Daniel Gitterman is the author of Calling the Shots, The President, Executive Orders and Public Policy, is also the chair of the University of North Carolina's Department of Public Policy. He joins me from their campus in Chapel Hill. Daniel, thanks for pulling over and doing this interview. We can see you're inside your vehicle today. The magic of technology. First of all, what's your impression, Daniel, of the kinds of things, the laws that the executive orders that Donald Trump has signed so far? How significant are they?
Yeah, you know, it's not surprising for presidents to act in this way during their first week or two in office. President George W. Bush did it. President Clinton did it. President Reagan did it. What is unusual is the degree of attention and how deliberate these are staged media events where press corps is invited into the Oval Office and watch him to sign. Many of them speak to issues that he addressed during the campaign, and this is clearly a signal to some of his key political supporters that he intends to act in these areas. Some are symbolic and some are real. Okay, let's
go through some of them. He aims to cut regulations for U.S.-based businesses by 75%. That certainly had an immediate impact on the stock markets.
Yeah. Well, I think the stock market is responding to the deregulatory impulse on business. Many of these things will depend on or have been passed as law by Congress, which would require congressional action to reform. Others which speak to some authority delegated to him by the U.S. Congress. He'd have more room to maneuver. But observers have to be real careful because each order is based in very different law and very different authority to really understand whether these are symbolic or real. And because of checks in the U.S. system, many of these will be challenged in U.S. courts and are not likely to happen tomorrow.
Okay, let's go through some of them, and I'll ask you, symbolic or real, in your opinion? 2 executive orders to back Keystone XL and Dakota Access Pipeline. He says he'll approve them if American steel is used. Symbolic or real?
I think it definitely shifts, at least suggests a policy shift, and the power of the president to procure and purchase goods and services that are based on federal funding would certainly allow him to suggest that only U.S. steel is used. That's likely to raise the cost of the project, and U.S. taxpayers will bear the cost one way or another.
Okay, building the wall on the border with Mexico, symbolic or real?
Well, I think it's not clear how the money would be appropriated to build the wall. It also seems that any effort to impose a 20% tariff on Mexican imports would violate the NAFTA agreement, which would require congressional reform. So in those cases, certainly symbolic in effort to signal policy direction, but would require additional action by other partners.
Okay, other partners being?
Congress.
Okay, and how likely do you think that Congress is going to go along with his plan?
You know, what's unpredictable here, and the word we're all using is either unpredictable or uncertain, is that he is so ideologically schizophrenic across different issues that it's not always clear on some of the support from Democrats than Republicans. So it really remains to be seen but depending on the issue and depending on where he is on the issue, what type of coalition in Congress would come together to support it or oppose it. I don't remember this level of uncertainty and unpredictability in
All right, I apologize. We are having a bit of difficulty. I'll ask you one more question. We'll see if the technology does us any favors, Daniel. Ban federal money to international groups which perform or even provide information on abortions. Groups like Planned Parenthood, symbolic or real?
Oh, that is definitely something that goes back to Ronald Reagan and Israel. They certainly can withhold those use of federal funds, and dramatic changes, which we've seen across time since Ronald Reagan. Reagan put him in place. President Clinton revoked him. George W. put him in place. Obama revoked him, and so it's not surprising that a new Republican president would put those back in place.
Daniel, as an author of that researches this particular item, called, the President, Executive Orders, and Public Policy, what's your gut reaction to President Donald Trump?
It's what perhaps most surprises me is the corporate CEO mentality that he has brought to the U.S. federal government. I think he's used to running his own company and calling the shots. It's unlikely that people would be resistant in your own family-owned company, certainly not his own children. But there are a lot of different partners in U.S. policymaking who might be somewhat reluctant to take it all at face value. So I do think there'll be some friction here in response to some of these orders.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens going forward, and especially what happens with Congress. Daniel Gitterman, the author of Calling the Shots, The President, Executive Orders, and Public Policy. Thanks for joining me from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Thanks so much for your time.